The Powerpuff Girls, a cartoon that captured the hearts of everyone, from kids to teens. Its popularity surprised everyone, especially because no one thought a show led by three girls would gain such a special place, even among boys. Today, we are diving into the worst moments of the show's most iconic villain, MOJO, moments we just can't ignore. But before we move ahead, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content like this. This episode is a landmark for the Powerpuff Girls because it introduced everything, our three superpowered heroines and their notorious nemesis, MOJO. On a quiet night, MOJO sneaks into a museum to steal the Anubis head, a mystical artifact. His goal? To turn every human on Earth into dogs. Shockingly, MOJO succeeds and transforms the entire town. By the time the Powerpuff Girls figure it out, the damage is done. What brings MOJO down, however, is his overconfidence. Believing he is stronger than the girls, he underestimates them. The battle begins, but in a twist, MOJO's trickery turns the girls into dogs, too. It's an even fight until MOJO gets distracted, and Bubbles, now a super dog, bites him on his rear. The Anubis jewel shatters, breaking the spell, and everyone, including the girls, returns to normal. But MOJO? He turns into a dog himself, humiliated and defeated. This wasn't the end of his bad luck. MOJO would face even worse moments later on. In this episode, we see how frustrated MOJO has become with his repeated failures. Every time he tries to defeat the Powerpuff Girls, he ends up in jail. Tired of this endless cycle, he decides to create a plan to permanently defeat them. While sitting in his jail cell, MOJO calls Professor Utonium, not to exchange pleasantries, but to ask about the recipe that created the Powerpuff Girls. Shockingly, instead of keeping it a secret, Professor Utonium casually reveals the recipe, including the mysterious chemical X. Armed with this knowledge, MOJO sets to work and creates the Rowdy Rough Boys, three superpowered boys who are the exact opposite of the Powerpuff Girls. MOJO tries to play their father, but the boys are filled with arrogance and aggression. Instead of respecting him, they insult MOJO and leave him behind. This rejection cuts MOJO deep, and his plan to finally defeat the Powerpuff Girls ends in personal humiliation. These moments perfectly capture MOJO's character, his brilliance and ambition constantly overshadowed by his ego and bad luck. Despite his clever plans, he always manages to sabotage himself, making him a villain we love to watch fail. In this thrilling episode, we see Professor Utonium going about his usual day, working in his lab. But suddenly, disaster strikes. An unknown figure kidnaps him right from his lab, leaving everyone shocked and confused. Just like that, Professor Utonium vanishes without a trace. The Powerpuff Girls soon discover the shocking news, but what really grabs their attention is the letter left behind by the kidnapper. To everyone's surprise, the letter is signed by none other than MOJO. Wasting no time, the girls race to MOJO's hideout, where he's waiting for them with a sinister grin. In a dramatic reveal, MOJO spills his tragic backstory. He was once Professor Utonium's assistant, but an experiment gone wrong turned him into a mutant. Things went from bad to worse when the Powerpuff Girls entered the professor's life, leaving MOJO feeling ignored and cast aside. Forced to go his own way, he's been harboring a grudge ever since. Hearing this, Professor Utonium feels guilty and wants to make things right. Sensing an opportunity, MOJO demands that the professor give him the same powers as the Powerpuff Girls as an apology. Blinded by his guilt, Professor Utonium agrees, granting MOJO incredible superpowers. But as expected, MOJO doesn't use his new powers for good. Instead, he turns on the professor and starts wreaking havoc, prompting the Powerpuff Girls to step in. In an epic showdown, the girls manage to strip MOJO of his powers, turning him back into his old self and putting an end to his plans. The twists don't stop there. Professor Utonium remembers a long-buried truth, and reveals that Mojo Jojo had once sabotaged his experiment by adding Chemical X. But what Mojo thought was a mistake actually led to the happiest accident of the professor's life, the creation of the Powerpuff Girls. In an ironic twist, Mojo Jojo's actions played a part in creating his biggest rivals. In another hilarious segment, the mischievous Green Gang returns to the city with a ridiculous plan to prank everyone. From Professor Utonium to the city mayor, no one is safe from their prank calls. The Powerpuff Girls also fall victim when the gang tricks them into believing that Mojo Jojo is causing chaos in the city. The girls, fired up and ready to fight, rush to Mojo Jojo's hideout. But this time, Mojo Jojo is simply relaxing, enjoying a rare holiday. His peace is short-lived as the girls storm in and start attacking him. The chaos ends with the girls realizing Mojo Jojo wasn't at fault this time, but the damage is done. His holiday is completely ruined. These moments showcase Mojo Jojo's roller coaster of unfortunate events in Season 1, from his failed schemes to his unexpected role in the Powerpuff Girls' creation. But don't worry, the fun doesn't end here. Stick around for more exciting recaps, and if you enjoyed this, make sure to follow us for more.